Years after she found out, Maria could still tell the story of her husband's affair word for word. The hotel, the message she wasn't supposed to see, the same knot in her throat every single time. She told me that story in my clinic for 6 years. I'm a medical doctor and a therapist, and in 27 years of practice, I've heard hundreds of versions of it. Her sister held her. Her friends took her side. And everyone said some version of the same thing. What a bastard! You poor thing, you deserve so much better. They were right. And she was getting worse. If you've been cheated on, check your own body. When you retell it, even years later, does your throat still close? Is the pain still as fresh as the day you found out? Then hear me clearly. The cheating was their choice. That verdict never changes, but the thing that made it possible doesn't retire when they leave. It waits, and unless someone finds it, it finds you again. Same script, different actor. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the true stories of two women, two patients of mine, almost the same betrayal, sitting in the same chair. One walked out free. The other is still living it. The difference between them is the way out. And the way out starts in a strange place with the kindest people in your life, because what they handed you after the betrayal was a warm bandage, warm hands, kind words, a circle of people confirming that you were wronged. And you were. But nobody cleaned the wound before they covered it. That's why it's still hot under the dressing years later. Every time someone asks how you're doing, nobody ever told you that comfort and healing are not the same thing. Maria's face had stopped moving, not calm, stopped. 6 years of hurt and bitterness had set into her features like plaster, and it only cracked when she told the story. The same knot rising in her throat, the same tears, as fresh as the morning she found that message. That's the first thing I check, by the way. Not what happened, but how old the pain sounds. Grief that's healing sounds like the past. Grief that's trapped sounds like this morning. And her eyes, when she connected to that episode, you could watch the light go out of them. I've seen those eyes in hundreds of faces. It's as if a part of the soul has been turned into a graveyard, fenced off, nothing allowed to grow there. And yet Maria went back there every single day. That's what trapped grief is, a place inside you that you can't stop visiting and can't bring back to life. But the eyes are only where the pain shows. Where it lives is lower. Betrayal doesn't stay a memory, it takes up residence. And it has 3 favorite addresses. The first is an organ most people have never heard of. Chinese medicine calls it the pericardium, the heart's bodyguard, the gatekeeper of intimacy. Its whole job is to judge one question: is it safe to open? You trusted, so it opened. And through the open gate came the one blow it existed to prevent, so it slammed shut. And here's the cruelty of that protection. It sealed the poison inside the very heart it was built to protect. The shutting down that keeps new hurt out is exactly what keeps the old hurt in. Protection and prison. One door. The second address is the liver, where anger lives. Rage that can't move stagnates. And stagnation has symptoms you'd never connect to a broken heart. You can't fall asleep. Or you wake at 3 in the morning. You're bloated, and it has nothing to do with food. You're tired. In a way, rest doesn't reach. The third is the lungs. Sadness. Injustice. The knot in your throat, the weight on the sternum, the breath that stops halfway as if your own chest won't let you inhale all the way in. And the lungs run the simplest rule in the body. You cannot breathe in until you've breathed out. A chest still gripping a 6-year-old hurt can't let go. And a chest that can't let go can't take anything new in. Not air, not tenderness. Nothing. If you've been carrying 2 or 3 of these since you found out, now you know. Your body has been telling the story. Your face learned to hide. From that wound, I watch people take one of 2 doors. Unfortunately, both lead back to it. The first, the armor. Cheated once, never whole again. The gate welded shut, the venom sealed in the heart. Every future relationship inherited the sentence. In there, and listen to me closely, the next partner isn't chosen. They're vetted. Love replaced by surveillance. Now let that sink in. But the openness that made the betrayal possible is the same openness that makes love possible. There's only one door for both. Weld it shut against the hurt, and you've locked happiness out with it. There's a Buddhist saying for this road: hating someone is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. The second door looks like the opposite, the kiss and makeup. It was a fight, a mishap. We all do it, a closed chapter. These people wave sympathy away. Accepting comfort would admit the wound is as deep as it is, and the whole strategy is to never look within. But a problem that was never named never got solved. It didn't leave the marriage. It's waiting. 2 doors, armor and amnesia. And notice where all the warmth gathers, around the first one. The armored are the held ones, the sister's arms, the friends taking sides, years of "you poor thing." Maria stood behind that first door for 6 years, wrapped in more sympathy than anyone I've ever treated. So her wound, of all wounds, should have healed, you'd have think. It never did. Because of what all that comfort was actually doing. And to see it, you have to watch what happens when a child cries. Watch a small child get hurt. She falls, or the dog barks, or the world is suddenly too big. And she runs straight to her mother, arms up, crying. And if the mother truly picks her up with her attention, not just her arms, something remarkable happens. The tears crest, break, and pass. 2 minutes later, the child is playing as if nothing occurred. That's not distraction. Her mother's calm became her calm. The child borrowed an adult's nervous system to carry what her own couldn't yet. The wound was cleaned while it was fresh. Now watch the child whose arms go up and nobody truly picks her up. The mother is there, but not there. Exhausted, distant, going through the motions. The child learns 2 things no one ever says out loud. My feelings are too much for me, and no one is coming to help me carry them. So she buries what she feels. And sometimes she erupts, the tantrum, the scene, not manipulation, just a bid at full volume for the attention that never arrives at normal volume. If that bid keeps failing, it doesn't die, it grows up. Because here's what I need you to see. The adult in the victim's chair, retelling the betrayal for the 40th time, collecting the room's sympathy. That is not the adult asking, that is the child, still standing in front of her parents with her arms up. The betrayal finally gave her something she never had, a justified reason to beg for the comfort she was owed 30 years ago. And no serving of it is ever enough. The warmth of each retelling fades within hours, and the story needs telling again. Of course it does. The sympathy is being delivered to the wrong address. It's today's comfort trying to fill a childhood-sized hole, and nothing poured in this year can reach a hole dug 30 years ago. And the victim's chair is only one corner. Look who's holding her. The sister who calls every day now. The friends who've never felt closer. Every corner of this triangle has its payoff, and the rescuers collect theirs too. They feel needed, they feel strong, and they get something intoxicating, instant intimacy through a common enemy. And for some of them, quietly, your cheater is a gift, although they would never admit it. A sanctioned target for anger from their own lives. Some people need a punching bag. Your ex arrived with a bow on. None of this makes them bad people. They love her. But listen to what all the warmth keeps repeating. You're helpless. This was all bad luck. That's the price of admission. The comfort is real and is paid for every single time with your power. Maria paid for 6 years. Different living rooms, but the same transaction. Now, honesty, not everyone who's been betrayed is standing in this triangle. Some affairs grow out of a tangle of circumstances where no single thread is the culprit. Relationships are complicated. And I've sat with those cases too. But in 27 years, it is peculiarly rare that betrayal finds someone in whom no older scenario was running underneath. And the data says the scenario doesn't retire when the relationship ends. In 2017, researchers at the University of Denver followed 484 people out of one relationship and into the next in real time. Those who had been cheated on in the first were 2.4 times as likely to report it again in the second. The lead researcher put it carefully. It's not anyone's fault that they were cheated on, but, quote, we all play a role in our relationships, unquote. And it's worth looking at what could keep it from happening again. 2.4 times. Because the relationship ended, but the pattern did not. It walks with you into the next one, and unless someone finds it, it will do there exactly what it did here, which leaves exactly one question between you and the exit. It's not about them at all. Here it is. Not, does it hurt? Of course it hurts, and nothing in this video says otherwise. The question is, when you touch that pain, who do you hold responsible for it? Sit with your first honest answer. If what rises is pure them, the outrage, the injustice, I did everything right and look how I was treated, then you're standing in the middle of the trap right now. Not because the outrage is wrong, because of what it does. As long as 100% of the responsibility lives with them, 100% of the power lives there too. Hand them all the responsibility, and you've handed them the only set of keys to your prison. So let me say the two sentences this whole video balances on. The act was their choice. The dynamic was a co-creation. Hold both. They don't cancel each other, and you need both to get out. The cheating itself, yes, theirs, fully, forever, no discussion. But the marriage the cheating grew in had two authors. It always does. Two childhoods collided in that marriage, their pattern and yours, meeting each other every day for years. And I can tell you about their pattern because cheaters sit in my chair too. They don't have it easy either. Behind most affairs, I find the same architecture, needs that went unmet for years. Half-spoken at best, never voiced with real force, never truly owned. A dependency that made leaving feel impossible. And underneath it all, a quiet conviction that they didn't deserve better. So instead of asking for what they needed, they stole it. I'm not excusing them. I'm showing you they were also being run by something older than the marriage. Which is why cheating never starts at the hotel. It never starts in the bedroom at all. It starts years earlier, quietly, at the kitchen table, in needs unspoken, in pleas unheard, in two people slowly starving in different rooms. There's an old saying, a full belly never seeks food. People who are genuinely nourished in their relationship don't have the motivation to look elsewhere. So when I tell you as plainly as I can that if someone's love, emotional or physical, is refused long enough, sooner or later they will seek it elsewhere. I'm not giving anyone permission. I'm telling you what fire does. Fire doesn't burn you because it's cruel. It burns you because that's its nature. You can call the fire immoral, but you'd still be burned. Because here's the choice hiding inside all that outrage. The sharpest question I ask in my clinic: do you want to be right, or do you want to be loved? You can be right, completely, provably, permanently right, with everyone agreeing the other person is a monster, but a pedestal is not a bridge. You can win the verdict and lose every drop of warmth that relationship or the next one could have held. Maria heard everything you've just heard, and she understood it. With her head, she could repeat it to me word by word, the way she could tell the story of the affair word for word. But there's a floor between the head and the heart, and hers never opened. Accepting it meant looking underneath the betrayal at something older and more painful, and that she couldn't face. So she drifted, sessions further apart, and then she stopped coming altogether. Years later, a mutual friend told me how the story continued, not at some dramatic confrontation at a gym on an ordinary afternoon. Maria's husband chatting up a young woman, relaxed, practiced, and Maria wasn't there to see it. She doesn't know. To this day, she doesn't know. That's the part that should stop you cold. The pattern never needed her to find out. It just kept running quietly in the background of her life. Think of what those 6 armored years had built. Her warmth further out of his reach every year. His needs going hungrier. She wasn't protecting herself from the next betrayal. Without ever knowing it, she was manufacturing it. She never consciously chose that. But the day she refused to face the pattern was left free to choose for her. There's a saying I give my patients on their darkest day. When you lose, don't lose the lesson. Maria lost the marriage's truth, and then she lost the lesson too. The pattern collected the dead in the dark. But I told you 2 women sat in that chair, and to understand what the other one did differently, you have to go back, not to her marriage, but far behind it, to where patterns like this are written in the first place. Patterns like this are written in the only school you ever attended without knowing it, your childhood. In 27 years, I've watched the betrayal pattern get written in 2 main ways. The first is the child needing attention, the one you already met. The parent who was absent or present but not there. And here's the detail that matters most. The child's deep mind never asks why the love didn't come. Maybe the parent worked 3 jobs, or was ill, or was doing their best with nothing left in the tank. To the adult looking back, those are good reasons. To a child's psyche, there are no reasons. Only the delivery. Did the warmth arrive, or didn't it? And when it doesn't, a child never concludes, my parent had no resources. A child concludes the only thing a child can. It's me. I'm not worth it. That sentence gets written so deep, it stops feeling like a belief and starts feeling like a fact. And then it starts hiring. It quietly selects the partners who will confirm it, tolerates the distance that proves it, and builds, brick by brick, an adult life that matches it. That's the childhood-sized hole from earlier. This is what dug it. If you've ever wondered what made you the perfect match for this particular heartbreak, not weakness, not stupidity, a sentence written before you could read. I'm not worthy. The second way is quieter and stranger. The pattern arrives by inheritance. If your father cheated on your mother, or she on him, then to your deep mind, betrayal isn't a catastrophe. It's home. It's simply what marriage looks like. the water you grew up swimming in. You can believe with your whole adult intelligence that it's wrong, and the deeper layer still recognizes it as how things go. And sometimes it runs deeper still. A child watches one parent bleed from a betrayal, and that parent's pain swallows their love and attention until they become unreachable, exactly like the absent parent. So the child builds a bridge the only way a child can, by becoming like them. Look, mother, I'm like you. Look at me, love me. 30 years later, that child sits in my clinic with her own betrayal, never suspecting that part of her has been keeping a loyalty pact, repeating her mother's wound of betrayal as the last remaining way of holding her mother's hand. This is what Sylvia found when she stopped looking at her husband and started looking within. Sylvia sat in the same chair as Maria, nearly the same story, the affair, the shock, the circle of sympathy already forming. And at the fork, where Maria turned to armor, Sylvia did the single hardest thing I ever ask of a patient. She got curious about her own side of the equation. Not guilty, curious. What she found over months of work was a straight line running backward through her whole life, a father who was never emotionally there. The sentence it wrote, I'm not worth real love. And the adult life built to match it, because if you're not worth love, you better be worth something. So she made herself worth admiring. The career, the perfectionism, the need to prove herself that never took a day off. And while she was proving her worth to the world, she was almost never truly with her husband. He asked, he pleaded in his way, more than once. She heard the words, but a person sprinting from their own unworthiness doesn't stop to listen. His needs sat unmet for years, growing hungrier, until someone else met them. The affair was his choice. That verdict never moved, not once in all our work. But when Sylvia finally saw the whole line, father, sentence, sprint, absence, affair, she said something I'll never forget. I spent my whole life trying to earn love, and I never noticed I'd stopped giving it. She realized she had unwittingly put her partner in front of an impossible choice: loyalty and emptiness, or disloyalty and scraps of warmth somewhere else. That is what taking responsibility actually sounds like. Not, it was my fault. It never was. It sounds like I found my part in this story. And my part is the only part I can change. And then the part that talk alone can't finish. Sylvia's understanding was complete. And the grief still sat exactly where Maria sat. Throat, chest, the breath that stops halfway. Insight doesn't evict a pain that lives in the body. You can understand a splinter perfectly, and it's still in your hand. This is where my work turns from conversation to needles. And here's something important. The wound may look the same in everyone: the sealed heart, the stagnant anger, the grip in the chest. But the way out of it is different for every single person. That's what the chart is for, your Chinese astrological chart. Calculated from the moment you were born, shows the relationship with the mother, the father, the childhood home. I usually know where the trauma sits before the patient tells me, but it shows me something more, what your healing has to look like. Which inner resources were never built in you, and in what order they need to be rebuilt. The chart finds the address and writes the prescription, yours, not everyone's. Then the needles go to work. They open what was locked and get the pain moving again. And I owe you honesty, that part is not pleasant. When emotions sealed for decades start to move, they move through you. Days of tears from nowhere, old anger surfacing, grief you thought was finished. Sometimes patients call me frightened, certain they're getting worse. They're not. Remember the wound under the dressing? Warm, covered, never cleaned. This is the cleaning. It stings because it's finally being touched. The way a surgeon's work stings. Not pretty. And the only thing that was ever going to heal it. The comfort kept the wound closed and dirty. The needle opens it, cleans it, and then it closes for good. I watched it close in Sylvia. I didn't need to ask whether the work was landing. It announced itself. The sparkle came back into her eyes. That light Maria lost is the first thing that healing switches back on. Sylvia laughed, easily, out loud, her posture unbent, as if she'd set down something she'd forgotten had weight. And her marriage, the same marriage the affair happened in, came back to life. Long conversations, some of them hard. His needs finally heard. Hers finally felt, maybe for the first time. Not the old relationship repaired, a new one. Built by two people who finally knew what had been starving them both. Two women, same chair, same wound, same sympathy on offer. One is still wrapped in it, and somewhere tonight her pattern is still running in the dark. The other put the comfort down, picked up her part, and walked out free. That's the whole difference. And it fits in one line. Sympathy treats the wound. Responsibility heals the pattern. And it's the pattern, not the wound, that decides what happens next. The cheating was their choice. Your healing is yours. The question before you is, will you choose sympathy or power? The moral pedestal in a sea of loneliness, or the humble acceptance of your own humanity and the bridge it builds back towards love. One last thing before we go. The pattern that invited this betrayal is almost never the only thing your childhood wrote. The same hand fills every corner of a life: who you love, how you work, what you allow yourself to receive. So the real question isn't whether this pattern was running, it's where else in your life is it running?